Hey guys, David here with a brand new figure review. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I saw this little guy on sale on Amazon, so I knew I had to pick him up because he was on my radar. Been meaning to get a very intricate Link figure from Legend of Zelda, and I am very fond of the design for Link in Skyward Sword because it's mostly his design from Twilight Princess with a little hint of Wind Waker, where his detail is very minimalistic, but he has the similar design of adult Link from Twilight Princess that is pretty badass. So here we have Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword Figma Link. So here we go. As you can see, he's a little tiny, but Figma has always been the type of company to make figures that are super tiny but yet super detailed and super articulated to where it's almost unreal. It's almost like you get a mini version of a Hot Toys figure, only it doesn't really come with actual clothes or things like that. Nothing too extravagant, but very much worth your money. So here we have Link himself. Let me go ahead and detach him from his base. Very briefly, he comes with this nice little display stand that kind of wish it would have been a little detailed to look like it was part of the Zelda property, kind of, you know, like a Hyrule shield there or something like that. But it's a very generic Figma base that it's nice to be included, but I just wish they could have spent just a little extra money. But that's just me being a little nitpicky. It just says Figma right there. It's translucent in a hexagonal design, and then you got the little leg here that has 1, 2, 3 points of articulation to help you hold the figure up, along with a peg right there that goes into the figure's back. Besides that, there's really not a whole lot to it, except that maybe at least one more point would have been nice, because it is a little frustrating to get this thing to be in the proper place so that you can stand Link properly. Anyways, let's move that to the side and let's go ahead and talk about the figure himself. He's, like I said, modeled after the look of Link from Skyward Sword, and this is one of my favorite designs for the character. And sure, he doesn't have that much detail going for him, but that's the design of the character. In that game, he's supposed to have a simplistic look to where he has the design of Twilight Princess, but he doesn't have the detail that his representation has in Twilight Princess, where he's got the chainmail and stuff like that, because that's where the influence from Skyward Sword comes in, where he's very minimalistic. He just has the basic green tunic along with the simple design on his face, but they got the paint jobs just right that it just looks like a 3D model of the character from the game. So this is the best thing that you can get from that game and from Figma if you ever want a very great representation of Link from that video game. Like I say, he's a little tiny. I feel like Figma can do better with the size of their figures, and I know that this is not the first one to be of the size to where they're about 4, maybe 4.5 inches. I personally feel that they could do a little bit better with like a 6-inch figure. That would be amazing, but along with that, I'm sure comes an additional $10 or even $20. In fact, they might even have some, but I just haven't looked hard enough. My apologies for that. But he's got a couple pouches here, as well as the little strap across his chest. The hair is well modeled. The actual sculpt of the figure is basically what stands out the most here, except instead of the detail, because the detail is supposed to be very minimalistic. So that's the figure itself in terms of how he looks. As for his articulation, I'm going to go ahead and remove just a little bit of the accessories here. Okay, so I removed the accessories, and now I can show you guys just how articulated Link is. For being such a tiny figure, Figma is able to incorporate enough articulation that he is almost unlimited in the type of poses that you could put him in. So his head rotates 360 degrees, as well as tilts downwards about that far and upwards about that far. There's a really good elaborate joint inside of the head, and you can actually get a full look at that when you switch his face plates around. I'll show you that in broader detail later on. His arms can rotate outwards about that far to form a T-pose, so to speak, as well as outwards, because a little about maybe that far. There is a double joint within the shoulder, so that allows for that kind of possibility. I don't know if you could see it from that end, but there's actually 2 joints to allow the most mobility there in the shoulders. He's got 1 joint that allows the elbow to bend about that far right there. And each pairs of hands, which I'll show the other ones right now in a bit, have a little bit of have a little joint right there that allow the wrist to move inwards about that far, as well as outwards that far. Hey. Okay. Sorry for that stereotype. That was mean. Oh, and also, and I guess this could be used to avoid the sheath that you're going to put here in the back, which I'll show when I get to the accessories, but his cap does have a point of articulation itself, it turns out. Or you could use this to kind of emphasize him being in midair. If you were to pose him like he's jumping in midair about to do a slash attack with his sword, you can rotate this section of the cap 360 degrees so you can have this end of the cap look like that. So that's pretty cool. So moving on, you do have an ab articulation that allows it to crunch forward about that far, in and outwards about that far back, as well as rotate 360 degrees. However, that's the mid ab joint. There's actually, I don't believe there's an actual waist joint. So if you're looking for ab articulation, that's really about it for this figure. And then you got joints here at the top of the legs that allow the legs to open outwards about that far. They are a little bit restricted by the skirt of the skirt portion of the tunic, but it is made out of this rubbery material that allows it to elasticate about that far, which is a surprising reach. I was not expecting that, but it does get to stretch about that far outwards, as well as move forwards about that much and backwards about that much. He has a joint here at the knee that allows it to bend all the way backwards like so, which it's funny because it's only 1 joint in the knee, yet it allows the mobility of practically 2 joints. And he does have a swivel there in that knee joint that allows the shins to rotate 360 degrees. And he does have a ball joint at the ankle that allows the foot to pivot backwards, forwards, and side to side, as well as a tippy toe joint that allows the toes to bend about that much in, and then flat out. So that's really about the articulation. It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but the ability of how far those joints are able to move is what makes up for that lack of more points. And because of that, that's really all you need in order to put him in a variety of poses that make Link look all that more dynamic. Okay, so for the accessories, he's got so many accessories that they went ahead and included, and I know they do this with, I think, all of their figures, but it's still very very weird to see this included in a figure, but very appreciative. I really do appreciate the fact that they include this, because I know for a fact I'm gonna lose something. I'm usually very careful with my figures, but I feel like I'm gonna lose something with this guy. And what they decided to do is include an evidence bag complete with a section that you can write your name on it, or the details of or the contents of the bag. And in this bag you can store all of his little accessories. So let me go ahead and open it up and just spill it here on the table to showcase exactly what he comes with, and I'll go over it in detail. So first of all, I think the quickest thing that I can go over is this little extra joint that you can add to the base. And the difference between this one and the other one is that this one is more like at a right angle, whereas this one is more at what they call an obtuse angle. I think that's what it's called. If I can remember anything from high school, is that this is an obtuse angle. That's more open than 90 degrees. And that is supposed to be used so that you can pose them a little bit more freely, should it be in that jumping position or whatnot. Let's see, he comes with a sheath for the sword that is designed to look like that of the hero of time himself. So that looks pretty cool. Better look right there. And it comes with this little peg so you can put him on his back here. Now here's where I think my biggest problem with the figure comes in, is that right there his sheath goes on his back, which is cool, but that really, unless you move this half of the cap upwards, it really does obstruct the mobility of the head completely. And sometimes when he's in this resting position and you have this part of the cap position upwards, it just looks weird. At least it does to me. So it's a bummer that, because if I rotate this down, he can't move his head all the way. He really can't. And on top of that, he has his Hyrule Shield, which once again very well detailed, modeled mostly after that Ocarina of Time saga, and it's a really good looking shield, and has not only great detail and a paint job there at the front of the shield, but in the back they decided to not only include this little strap that attaches to the shield vertically right there, but he also comes with this little handle that detaches in two places so that you're able to slide it through his hand and then clip it onto the shield itself in a variety of areas. You got all those holes right there. You can put this handle all over the shield like that. So I think that's pretty cool. But there's a place in the instructions where they teach you how to be able to put the shield on his back, and it's done in the most weird ass way possible that it just doesn't make sense to put his shield. As much as I want to be able to put his shield like that to make him look like he's in this resting pose, it just doesn't make any sense the way they do it, because what they have you do is take this handle and place it horizontally and basically just slide it up the sheath so that it's resting right here. But it's all loose. I'm not going to try to do it right here for time's sake, but it's loose, and if you pull it on it hard enough, it's not going to fall on its own, but if you were to pull hard on it enough, it's just going to slide on through. There's just no point if the shield can even be held on right. So most of the time, I'm not even going to have him with the sheath. I'd rather just have him holding the sword in his hand. Or maybe just, for the sake of the review, I'll go ahead and keep the sheath on his back just so that he can look cool. And he can look as complete as possible. But in doing so, I need to move this back half of the cap to at least the side so that he's able to be facing forward like so, because that's the most that I can do. So anyways, yeah, that's the sheath, that's the shield, so it's only fair that I now talk about the sword. And here is the Master Sword itself, which has a blue tint going across it, but it's done with this chrome paint that actually comes across rather nice. I didn't think I was gonna like it, but it looks rather cool. And it's made out of this rubbery material for safety's sake, because they don't want eyes being poked out there, but the tip is kind of sharp, so be careful. And then the handle, or the hilt of it itself, is also really well designed. As you can see right there, you got little rivets going down in the handle, you got the molding and the sculpting there going on in the actual hilt of the sword with the little jewel there in the middle. It's really extravagant. And then if you look closer, you can see the Triforce emblem there on the sword. So to give him the sword into his hand, it actually detaches here at the end. You can take this little ball type of thing from the end, detach it, so now it makes it easier to slide the actual handle into one of his hands. So let me go ahead and take that, slide it in, slide right in, and simply just take that little piece that I detached, attach it back again, and there you go. And let me go ahead and actually give him the shield. Another thing that is, like I said, somewhat of a bad decision to go ahead to give him that put that sheath right there, is that it also obstructs the ways that you can go ahead and put that base on his back, because it does no services whatsoever. As hard as I try, it's really hard to be able to put that little arm from the base into his back so that I'm able to pose him. Alright, so there we have Link with his sword, his shield, and that really annoying sheath. That just really annoys me. That sheath just gets on my nerves. I might end up taking it off by the end of the review. But if you do need to know, and I don't want to show it off right now because it does become a little bit of a hassle trying to fit the shield onto his hand, trying to fit the sword into his hand, because there's just so many ways to do it. You know, take off this thing, fit it into his hand, get the right hand, because there's different hands, which I'm about to show off right now. It even comes in this little adapter, if you will. Figma threw in this little adapter where you get to attach all of his hands and keep them in an orderly fashion, to the point where it looks kind of creepy. It looks like something that would come out of Resident Evil or something like that monster made out of mannequins. I can't remember which Resident Evil it was, but there is a monster made out of mannequin parts, and then Pyramid Head proceeds to have his way with it. Resident Evil, everybody. Anyways, it comes with a pair of open palm hands, a pair of somewhat open hands right there. He comes with, they're in different places, but he comes with 2 fisted hands, and then 2 hands. Okay, he comes with 2 more pairs. One of the pairs is mainly designed to hold his shield. They're like open, but they're like this. They're like this, but they're very stationary. And then the last pair of hands are almost the exact same way, only they're much more inclined forwards like this, meant to hold his master sword, because that's usually how you hold a sword. It's like this, not like this, like this. So he comes with a total of 10 hands, 5 pairs of hands, and that's quite a bit. Each one comes with that same joint for posability, but that is pretty astonishing. Then he also comes with a little accessory here that you can attach to the sword to make it look like he's waving it in the air, and you can just slide it here at the edge. There's like these little grooves that are hollowed out, so you can just slide the sword inside and make it look like he is slashing through the air. Just keep in mind this adds a little bit of weight, so if you position the sword like that, you got to be careful with the weight, because it might start to like fall down or something like that. So let me go ahead and have him look at the sword, make it look like it actually makes sense. And this is, of course, where the base comes into play. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and remove the sheath so that I can actually take the base here, pop it into his back, and have him be posed on the base without risk of him falling. There you go. So that looks pretty cool. Alright, so there you have him. Put this stuff to the side. And his last accessory or accessories is an interchangeable pair of, interchangeable face. He comes with 2 faces, the one that you actually see right there, a relaxed face, and then he comes with an angry or aggressive or about to attack face. And he also comes with an extra hairpiece, I guess I could say, a legitimate hairpiece. The difference between the 2 hair pieces is not too great. Only looking at it very closely can you see that the hair looks slightly off to make it look like he's, again, in some kind of attack pose where his hair is like waving in the wind or something like that, whereas this is more of his relaxed hair. But if you want to be able to exchange the faces, all you gotta do is just tug on the hair first. That's actually the first piece that it's overlapping over the face. You just take it off and slide it off like that. Let me show it off. There you go. Let me actually move this downwards. There is his and then you just take the face, remove it, and there you go. That's incredibly disturbing. And in there you can actually see the joint that I was talking about that is responsible for the pivoting of his head upwards and downwards. It's pretty cool. Kind of disturbing, but kind of cool. So now I'm just going to take the aggressive head. You see the little groove inside it. You just slide it onto that really wide tab. Fit into place. Like that. And then you just take the aggressive hair, if we are calling it that. And let me... Okay, I believe it's this one over here. And you just take the 2 tabs right there and fit it to the top of his noggin right there. Fit it into place. Make sure you're not breaking anything. Let me make sure that... Okay, there you go. Yeah, you just slide it into place and it fits rather snug. And there you have Link ready to attack. Let me go ahead and position him like that and have him look at the sword. There you go. And there you have Link, as we all know and love. So that really about does it for the accessories. Like I said, Figma is all about quantity that is deserving with their figures. Sure, they're kind of short, and I feel like they could do a little bit better with larger figures, but they make up for that in the posability. And some of the figures are a little bit better detailed, especially I saw some images of Iron Man from Age of Ultron, and he looks really well detailed. In fact, all of their figures from Age of Ultron looked rather detailed. I was at one point thinking about getting them, but I settled for Hot Toys instead. But Link here from Skyward Sword is a very excellent representation from that character model. Yeah, he's simplistic in detail, but they make up for that in the articulation that is able to move very freely, as well as an abundance of accessories that do the figure justice. So I give this figure a high 8 out of 10, and it's one that I'm going to proudly display on my shelf as soon as I can figure out what pose I would like to put him in, because the accessories complement the posability, and I feel like more companies need to do that with their figures. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of my review for this figure. Will you be willing to pick it up? Do you like my shirt? Let me show it up right here, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.